Holidays and welcome to Onwards and Upwards, everything a global nurse needs to know to live and work in the United States. My name is Luciana Da Silva with AMN Healthcare. The visa bulletin just came out a couple of days ago, so you know what we're going to do today, immigration Q&A with our wonderful lawyers. Let's go ahead and bring them in. Some of the top immigration lawyers in the country joining us right now. Hello, you. There they are. Hi, Mike and Maria. Happy holidays.
Hey, to you as well. How are you doing?
Doing great. Let's do some introductions really quick, and then we'll dive right into the visa bulletin and answer all of your questions. Please go ahead and start putting them in the chat while we're doing these introductions so we can get right to it and make sure that you have all the answers that you need. Mike, go ahead. Please introduce yourself. We know you're no stranger, but just for the new viewers out there.
Yeah, sure. My name is Mike Hammond. I'm an immigration attorney based here in Cincinnati. I've been doing this for 30-some years, and my two areas that I'm primarily practicing is healthcare and IT.
Exactly. We have specialists right here just for nurses around the world. Maria, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Maria Schneider. I'm a partner at Musillo and Unkenholt. We're also based in Cincinnati, Ohio, actually just a few blocks from Mike and his team. And I've been here with the firm for about 12 years and also focus my practice in employment-based immigration in the fields of IT and healthcare.
Thank you so much. Let's get to the visa bulletin now. Let's pull it up on the screen here and talk about the latest. Mike, walk us through it. We had some good news. We have some good news.
Yes, we had some very good news. The worldwide category and the Philippines for EB3, which is where nurses are generally being sponsored under, move forward about 9 months. So huge news there. I think that excites a lot of people who were waiting for interviews to be scheduled and waiting for visas to be issued, and with people here in the U.S. waiting for 45s to be adjudicated. So very, very good news on the movement in January.
Let's get into what the visa bulletin is. Maria, will you walk us through exactly what the visa bulletin tells us in general?
So each year or each fiscal year, there's a pool of green cards that's allotted based off U.S. law, and no one country can take more than 7% of that total pool. And so what the visa bulletin shows us is that there are some countries like the Philippines who regularly hit up against that 7% cap, and then unfortunately there's a backlog of cases that are coming through that that group or that category. So as the Department of State progresses and moves forward with their counting of how many applications have gone through, they'll then advance the dates forward to allow for more individuals to apply as the backlog is really difficult.
Thank you, Maria. Mike, walk us through the changes that just happened. So nurse applies to AMN Healthcare International with O'Grady Peyton and Kinetics USA. What happens next? Who's in line? Because the idea is to get in line, right?
Yes.
The ticket to the movie theater, the golden ticket to come to the United States. So how does this work? August 22.
Yeah. So how this works is you get in line by filing an I-140. For RNs, the date of the receipt of the I-140 filing becomes your priority date. It becomes your spot in the queue, your spot in the line. And so what this chart means, if you were born in the Philippines and you have a priority date prior to August 1st, 2022, you are now eligible for your green card case to be final adjudication. They call this the final action date chart. And what that means is if you're overseas, it means you can have your visa issued, your stamp put in your passport. If you're in the U.S., it means that you can have your I-45 approved and actually have your green card mailed to you. So it's the what's final action date that your case can move through. So one of the things that's really important to understand in this era of retrogression is getting in line is really important. You want to get in line as quickly as you can because that establishes your priority date. So get filed as quickly as you can, which means all the things that you can control and do, such as passing your test, sending all the paperwork that you need to Kinetics, to AMN, all those things you want to do as quickly as possible so that they can get you filed so that you get in the queue.
Thank you, Mike. And of course, to all of our viewers out there, what Mike is saying, get in the queue. How do you do that? Go to amnhealthcare.com/international. Apply. We have direct hire and staffing positions through Grady Payton and Kinetics USA. Go to the website, apply, and our recruiters are on hand waiting to help you on your journey and get you in that queue. I want to bring up really quick, the graphic that we have of the immigration process, because this retrogression does not affect the entire process. Does it, Maria?
No, it does not impact the entire process. That's a great point, Luciana. So the first few steps here that we have of pre-filing, filing the immigration petition, and even some parts of the National Visa Center process, steps 1, 2, and 3 on this wonderful graphic, are not generally impacted by the retrogression. So we can still, as Mike was saying, it's important for you to still progress through passing your NCLEX, your TOEFL, all of those steps, getting your visa screen secured, saving up money for your fee bills, all those kinds of things. We can still do all of those pre-filing steps of collecting your documents. We can still submit your I-140 to establish your place in line. And then again, in many cases, we can even move into that NVC process where we're submitting your civil documents and some information about your family. It's just really the consular interview that can't be completed until the retrogression is not impacting your case, because that's after the interview, of course, when the immigrant visa is issued. And unfortunately, if your priority date is not current based off retrogression, the visa won't be issued, so they won't conduct the interview. But those other steps, we can certainly progress forward, and we do want to move as far through the process as we can until such time as we're stopped by the retrogression of moving on to that step number 4.
So there are plenty of things to do between now and the time that the retrogression actually affects you. Mike, tell us how this is good news for 2022 and those steps right there. Does it really, what kind of delay is it giving people right now?
Well, I am still, in spite of the fact that this jumped 9 months, I am still of the opinion that the overall process from the time you file to the time you actually get your interview and visa issued is in the 18 to 24 month range. I'm still holding to that kind of time frame. So this is really good news for people who have a priority date prior to August 1st, 2022. I don't think it changes people who are getting in the process now. I don't think it means that all of a sudden there's not a backlog, and all of a sudden, or maybe that the backlog is shorter than what we thought because of how quickly this moved. Keep in mind, we hadn't moved at all in November, December. So this is the first time the bulletin has actually moved this year. So super excited. And for everybody that's, I don't mean to be not positive about this. It's a very positive. I just don't think it changes the overall time.
Well, positive news is fantastic news. It's our holiday gift from the U.S. immigration government. We can think about it that way since it hasn't moved all year since May. So it's really good news too. Let's go to the chat. We have Shioma saying hi. Jorley, good evening from Qatar. Is this for NCLEX passers only? Right now, Jorley, we are only taking and processing applications for nurses who have their NCLEX already passed. The NCLEX is a board exam for you to be able to practice here in the United States. Once you pass that NCLEX exam, that's your golden ticket, and we can move you through the process, get you placed with a U.S. healthcare facility and get you started on this immigration pathway and journey and get in that queue. Jorley is also saying happy holidays. Everyone from Qatar. Yumi is saying hello. Kabachi is saying, are you recruiting from India? Take a look at the visa bulletin. India, Mike, walk us through what's going on with India and China here, because their dates also changed. And what does that mean?
China moved forward 9 months as well, but it's still to 2020. India moved forward a month. It's 2012. I think that I do not have any clients who are actively recruiting RNs from India via the EB3 route. The queue is, by most estimations, 10, 15 years long, and that's simply too long. I think some of the movement will change a little bit in India. Because there's a lot of duplicate filings from engineers and IT people here in the U.S. that are in both EB2 and an EB3 category. And as they work through some of those, the numbers might move. But I think overall, there's still no, barring some legislative change in how they calculate the numbers or additional numbers, I do not see recruiting in India as being viable anytime soon. There are, however, H-1B options for some RNs, limited RNs, but that would be, that has no, the country you're from is not relevant in that context.
Let's dig into that H-1B visa. Maria, what is the difference between an H-1B and an EB3? I just hear letters and numbers. What does this mean?
Yes, yeah, it is a bit of alphabet soup, if you will. So an H-1B is what we would call a non-immigrant visa, which does sound a little bit confusing because you think, immigrating means I'm coming to the U.S. Why am I on a non-immigrant visa? But immigration, or to immigrate, it's sort of a bit of English language semantics here, but it basically means that you're moving from one place to another for a permanent time or in permanent fashion. So a non-immigrant visa is temporary in nature. So that's one big distinction between the H-1B and the EB3, is that the H-1B is meant for a temporary time frame, and the EB3 is, of course, leading to a green card, which is more permanent in nature. So if you come to the U.S. on an H-1B, you will eventually need a green card if you plan to stay long term. And then the other key difference is that the H-1B visa, the sort of terms of the visa, require that the job offered and the person accepting the job have a bachelor's degree. So I'm sure many, if not all, of the nurses on this call have a bachelor's degree in nursing. That's sort of one side of the process, or one side of the equation. The other thing is that the job that you're coming to the U.S. to work in has to require a bachelor's degree in nursing. So that's something we've been discussing a lot with employers because of the retrogression, that they may have positions in their hospitals or in their care facilities that do require a BSN, maybe that are slightly advanced in nature or that have some supervisory component to them. And if they don't, maybe they want to develop that type of a role to be able to utilize the H-1B. The EB3, on the other hand, only requires that the position being offered require an associate's degree. So that's historically why we've filed nurses through the EB3 route, is because, of course, the nursing license in the U.S. only requires a 2-year associate's degree as opposed to a 4-year bachelor's degree. So it's a much more sort of direct fit for the nursing position. But again, we have been seeing in the months since May, when retrogression kicked in, that a lot more employers are willing to consider an H-1B for a nurse, and maybe even have these positions already in their hospital where a BSN is required. We just haven't really, investigated that because we didn't need to when the EB3 was current and everybody was coming in quickly on the EB3.
Thank you. And what you're saying here, as far as the EB3 and the H-1B, education is very important. Also, for you to be able to work for a U.S. healthcare facility, all of our clients have different qualifications that you're going to need for the different jobs you're applying for, also based on specialty. Let's bring up the map that we have of all of the open positions available through AMN Healthcare International. As you can see, everything in green is direct hire. Everything in navy, staffing, and if it's purple, direct hire, and staffing positions. So all of these clients may have different qualifications that you need. So as Maria was saying, there's the bachelor degree qualifications, but then also you may need 5 years bedside experience to be able to get a certain job. You may need to have practiced in your specialty for a certain amount of years as well, education. But once you get all of that wrapped up, you can absolutely apply for our jobs. Some jobs may even need 1 year experience. So apply. We have all sorts of options for you, and our recruiters will take care of you based on your experience, where you want to go. As you can see, we have options all over the country. Just go to amnhealthcare.com/international, apply through direct hire, apply through staffing, and we'll take care of you and get you on that journey. Divine, on that note, Divine is saying, after passing NCLEX, what is the next step? Let's bring up our success path. We have all kinds of graphics here to help you, right? So our success path is, first, you're going to pass your NCLEX golden ticket. Then you're going to prepare for an interview. We're going to set you up with a client. You're going to interview with a client. Then we're going to start that licensing and immigration process. So that there is steps 3, 4, and then also with 5, you got to make sure you also pass your English exams, the OET, the PTE, or the IELTS. Once you get all of that together and we get through this immigration process and you have your interview and everything's good to go, then you start packing. We help you with everything that you're going to need to prepare to come, and everything, all the support that you're going to need afterwards in order to live in peace. Back to the questions. Hussein is asking, hello, I am on an F1 visa student and will graduate in May, and I get an EAD from my OPT post-graduation. Can I start working as an RN awaiting my I-485 processing? It's not current yet, noting that my I-140 has been approved already. Mike, you want to take this one?
Yeah, so the first question I would want to know is whether the I-140 was approved through the same employer that you're looking to work for. If so, then this is a pretty simple situation. You graduate in May, you should already have, you'll get an OPT EAD simply because you graduated. That allows you to work for any employer, but as long as it's the employer that's already had your I-140 approved, obviously you already have NCLEX pass, you probably already have your license, so you would be able to start on that OPT EAD card. And then when your priority date becomes current, and here's an important distinction, the Visa Bulletin has 2 charts that comes out each month, the final action date chart, which we've already talked about, and then they have a chart called the date for filing chart. And the date for filing chart for EB3, rest of the world, and Philippines is February 1st, 2023. So as soon as Hussein's priority date becomes current in the date for filing chart, then he can file his 485, and then he'll get an EAD card through the 45. So in theory, he'll have an EAD card in May that'll be valid from May 2024 until May 2025. At some point during that time frame, that 1 year where he has an EAD already in hand, he will get another EAD through the 485 filing that will allow him to seamlessly continue to be employed and then get his green card through that 45 process. If, however, his I-140 is with a different company that he's looking to join on his OPT, then his case is, in my opinion, very problematic, and he should definitely speak to the attorney involved to try to get it sorted out.
Always ask your attorney your questions directly. Of course, we have our wonderful attorneys here as well for your questions. Jade is saying, hello, Sir Mike Hammond. Eddie is praying for a green card. We have Raw saying, I passed the NCLEX on the process of IELTS, but accordingly to the Kinetic staff this month, unfortunately, it's the holidays. I'm from the Philippines and an overseas nurse. Happy holidays. Although Kinetics USA and OGP are also celebrating the holidays, we do not stop. We don't stop. America does not stop. We keep going, here to help you and service you and support you throughout the holidays and throughout this process. Jade is saying, AMN Healthcare International baby here. Okay, great. We love it. Rian, do you think the visa bulletin will move again soon? Maria?
I hope so. We'll have to sort of shake our crystal ball a little bit here and see what we think. The conventional wisdom, I think, is that it will continue to progress through the calendar year of 2024, moving towards the end of the fiscal year on October 1st. How quickly or how much it will progress, I think, is unfortunately, the big unknown. But because the dates were current for so long, I think most people expect that a lot of the people that could have filed for a green card during the time of 2020 to say 2023 probably already have moved forward and either filed their 485 or been interviewed. So hopefully there aren't too many folks left from where the cutoff is now in August of 22 until present day of December of 23. But unfortunately, we don't know how many cases are sort of left in that time frame and how quickly the date might progress. But I think the takeaway is, yes, we do expect it to continue to move forward through the 2024 calendar year.
Maria, a lady named Rian is asking, could it move backwards? We're expecting it to move forward, but is there a chance it could move backwards?
So yes, there is a possibility that it could move backwards. I think all indications from the Department of State are that they're acting conservatively. That's why the date did not progress. As Lucian mentioned before, it did not progress from essentially May of 2023 until this visa bulletin that we have for January. So, they're acting, the Department of State of the United States is acting very conservatively in the way that they're progressing the dates forward, because I think they don't want it to move backwards. They're afraid that's going to cause panic and anxiety, and I'm sure it would for everyone on this call, myself and Mike included. So they're trying to be conservative in how quickly they move forward so that they don't have to move it backwards. But there is some chance, it has moved back, obviously, in the past. That's what happened in May. So there is a chance that could happen, but I think they're trying to hedge against that.
And there is a huge nursing shortage in the United States. It's a nursing crisis, as we like to look at it. So the American government understands that we need nurses. So, the idea of them just saying, that's it, no more. Mike, is that even a possibility?
Well, they would have to change the statute in order to do that. And so I do not see any opportunity of that, any realistic chance of that happening whatsoever.
Very, very good to know. Peace is asking, do I have to retake the IELTS exam if it expires after you become current on the visa bulletin? Mike?
Well, you know what? This is a great question. Chris and I were on the call about 2 months ago together, and it's always a problem when it's just me and him. But someone asked this question, and we did not know the answer. And both of us were like, oh my God, if Maria was here or Cadence was here or anybody else was here, it would help. So I have no clue. Again, I didn't learn the last time. So Maria, I'm going to defer to you on this.
I think the issue would be if the visa screen has been issued, right? Because the IELTS has to be valid when you apply for your visa screen, and then your visa screen has to be valid when you appear for your interview. So if the IELTS itself expires, I'm not sure that would matter so long as the visa screen is still valid. And the visa screen, of course, from CGFNS, it will have the expiration date in the top right-hand corner. So that's at least an easier thing to know when the expiration date is coming. And typically visa screens are valid for 5 years. So hopefully it wouldn't, your case wouldn't be retrogressed for that long. Obviously the current retrogression is about 18 months. So if you got your visa screen today, you should have plenty of time for it to be valid before your consular interview.
Another great piece of news for the holidays. Paula is saying, hi, happy holidays. I already passed my NCLEX. Woo! My husband and I are planning to have a baby next year. Congratulations. Would there be any problem if my I-140 is already filed and then I deliver my baby? How could I include my newborn as my dependent too? Thank you. Mike, what would you say to Paula other than congratulations on the baby, right?
Definitely congrats, and you'll probably enjoy plenty of good sleep now that you have it. I think those tend to go together. No, it's very easy to add new babies to the process. How you do it depends upon where you're at in the process. Whether you're already at the NVC, whether your I-140's not yet been filed. And I know in your particular situation, you indicate your I-140 was already filed and approved. So you're at some point in the NVC. Has your NVC, have you already been DQ'd? Or are you already at the consulate? But the bottom line is it's easy to do. So you just want to reach out to your case manager, who'll reach out to your attorney and give them the update information, and they'll make it happen. But it's very easy. Keep in mind, we'll need a passport for your child, though. So make sure that you obtain a passport. But no issues in adding new children to the process, or new spouses for that matter.
And baby passport pictures are the cutest thing ever. You always want to keep a little one in your wallet, right? Maria, the next question is for you from Debbie, who's saying happy holidays from Kenya. I love seeing people from all over the world saying hello on this show. If priority date has changed to current after the recent visa bulletin, how long will it take for the visa interview dates to be issued?
Yeah, I think this is a great question, Debbie. And, unfortunately, I can't tell you a specific number of days or weeks. I wish that I could. But we do anticipate that interview notices will be forthcoming in the next week or two as the Department of State sort of reacts to the January visa bulletin and starts putting those cases scheduled for interviews. We do, sometimes see an interview date scheduled before the visa bulletin comes out, but typically it's not until after the visa bulletin is issued. So as Luciana said at the beginning of the session, the visa bulletin just came out this week. So I would think interview notices should be coming in the next 10 days to 2 weeks as we head into the new year.
Thank you very much. We also have Simone saying, watching from Liberia. Hello. Mitchell is saying, I am watching from South Africa. Sidra is saying, will you please explain the direct hire processing, what the employer will do and what the applicant will do based on payments? Mike, do you know what based on payments?
I don't know what the phrase based upon payments means. Unless that is some internal process. Obviously, you have to pay fee bills in order to move your case forward at the NVC. And so maybe someone, if they've got a whole lot of kids, might be delayed in paying their fee bill because of how large the costs are. That's the only thing I can think of. I've never seen a I-140 delayed because employers that are hiring you in the direct hire process are all hospitals. So it's not like they're short on money to pay filing fees. So I've never seen that happen. So the only thing I can think of is maybe fee bill payments. I don't remember. Maria, do you any other ideas?
No. Maybe she's asking like what fees the nurse would be responsible for versus the hospital, but that's kind of what Mike's saying, that, generally speaking, the hospital will pay the filing fee for the I-140 as well as the fee bills for the nurse. And then typically I think the nurse is responsible for the fee bills for any spouse and children, but each employer handles that a little bit differently and how they approach it. So it's probably best to connect with your AMN case manager and discuss the particulars of your offer with them.
I think that the main thing to notice here is that she's saying direct hire. So the fees between direct hire and staffing, okay, what the client and what the company cover in terms of the fees that you need to pay. Just note to have Kinetics USA or Grady Payton's help throughout this entire process. That is free. We will do it for you. We will help you get your paperwork together. So that is the answer to some of these questions. Go to our website. On this page, amnhealthcare.com/international, you're going to learn about the differences between direct hire and staffing, what it covers, what it doesn't, and then you can make an informed decision on the type of structure that you want to come to the United States. And both are amazing options and will get you here. But it's good to inform yourself and know the difference there. Aramachi is saying, good question. This is a good question. De La Cruz, watching from the Philippines. ABCD, hello from India. Donna, are you going to continue recruiting nurses or hold for the time being? We are recruiting nurses, Donna, especially if you have that NCLEX. Go to our website and apply. Umit, when can we see this type of big jump again? My priority date is 03/23/23. Thank you. Maria?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Again, unfortunately, we don't know exactly when the visa bulletin will jump. The Department of State, again, is acting conservatively in advancing the dates forward. So I don't know that it will jump again from, say, August to March, August of 22 to March of 23. But I do think we'll, again, continue to see forward progression throughout the 2024 calendar year. So, the dates of filing, as Mike mentioned, is in February of 23. So that's some indication that the Department of State is open to at least receiving fee bill payments and civil documents for people with priority dates through February of 23. And, what they sort of do with those is then kind of count them up, and then they look forward to the next month to see how many cases might be. So the fact that the dates of filing chart is in February of 23 should be a very positive sign for it.
Thank you. Abina is watching from Ghana. Gigi is watching from India. Nashwa, how long it takes if I moved to current with the latest visa bulletin? Mike?
I assume you're asking the question that was asked a little while ago of Maria, how long to get an interview? And we're expecting to see interview notices shortly. Keep in mind that it is the holidays now for consulates. And so U.S. consulates also operate on short staff and limited staff, and a lot of people travel. So a lot of people are dealing with visa issues at this time of the year for holidays at the consulates. And so probably issuing new visa interview notices is likely not a high priority right now due to short staff. But we certainly expect early on in January to see some interview dates come out. And for the consulates that allow you to self-select your interview date, we certainly expect to see some options there as well. And if you're in the U.S., and you have a 485 that's been pending and you're now current, then you can look for one of three things. Now that you're current, you can either look for an approval, or you may just get your cards in the mail one day. There's a mailed notice that comes out, but often the cards will come just as fast. So that would obviously be one thing. That's great news. Second is you could get called in for a personal interview at a local USCIS office. Or the third thing is they could issue your request for evidence to say, if your 45 has been pending a while, they may want to verify your current employment and things like that. But generally saying, we see action on 45s fairly quickly once priority dates are current.
Mostafa is asking, hi, my friend. My original country is Egypt, and I'll be in Italy in February by the Schengen tourist visa for 90 days. The question is, if I applied for American tourist visa, B1, B2, will I be able to make the embassy visa interview at the American embassy in Italy instead of Egypt? And if it can be, how long it'll take to be transferred approximately? Who wants to take this one? Maria, Mike?
Sure, I'll give it a shot. So the B1, B2, I'm not sure from the context of the question if he's asking about the interview for the B1, B2 or for the green card, but the B1, B2 is, again, a non-immigrant visa like we were talking about before with the H-1Bs. So generally speaking, you can schedule a non-immigrant visa interview anywhere in the world at a U.S. embassy, so long as the embassy will accept your application. So it's like occasionally we'll see some embassies say, if you're not a citizen of, in this case, Italy, we won't interview you here because we have so many people applying that we have to only allow Italians to go through the embassy in Rome, if you will. But outside of that, the B1, B2 interview could be conducted again anywhere in the world. The EB3 interview, however, has to be conducted in a country where you either have citizenship or you have residency. And the NVC or the embassy will ask you to document that residency or citizenship with like a passport. Obviously, if this individual has an Egyptian passport, that's not going to allow him to interview in Italy. And if he's only in Italy for a short stay, it sounds like he's going to be there maybe on a vacation or something for a few months. That's likely not going to meet the test for the interview. So then he would have to go back to Egypt and be interviewed, likely in Cairo for the green card interview.
That's why I love this job. We're talking about cities and countries all over the world. We have people from all over the world joining us. George is asking, can I apply for non-immigrant visa, H-2B, while waiting for my priority date, which is June 2022? To become current, I'm doing EB3 other workers consular process from Bulgaria. Mike, do you have an answer for George?
Yeah, so if you are not current, which you're not, I think you said you were June 2022.
Yes.
So you're not current, and you're not current for a while. It is not a bar to an H-2B or any other type of non-immigrant visa. However, it is a factor because they do know that your ultimate intention is to come to the U.S. But we have seen a lot of individuals come into the U.S. on non-immigrant visas, such as H-2Bs, H-2As, TNs, B1, B2s, F1s, etc., that carry non-immigrant intent. So it is certainly something you can definitely try. And the fact that your priority date is so far away is likely a positive factor for getting an H-2B approved. So I would say move forward.
Thank you, Mike. Maria Abigail is asking, if HIV positive and have got a mental illness, are you eligible to migrate to the USA if you pass your NCLEX?
Honestly, I don't know offhand what illnesses are included. I would say yes, but there are certain conditions, if you will, that the Immigration Service screens for. That's why you have to undergo a medical exam at the embassy before you're able to enter the United States. But generally, those are communicable diseases. Like that's why we would screen for COVID or tuberculosis, things like that. But typically a mental illness would not prohibit you from entering the U.S. I don't know offhand, I'm not sure, Mike, if you do, if HIV is included on the medical exam or not.
I do not believe it is, but I'm not 100% sure. But
okay,
I'm probably 95% sure that it's not.
Same.
Okay, so that's a good percentage right there. And of course, whenever you start going through the process, the immigration lawyers that we hook you up with will definitely help you with this journey. And congratulations on passing your NCLEX. We're still getting a lot of questions here about the dates for the visa bulletin, what to do. So here's one. Nurse Kunlin is saying hello from Taiwan, and my priority date is 10/10/23. And after the big jump of the priority date, is the retrogression still remaining? Maria, let's go through this again.
Yeah, so yes, there is still some retrogression. The cutoff date for EB3 rest of the world, which is where someone from Taiwan would fall. Important to note that if you're born in Taiwan, you're not considered under the Chinese category, you fall under the rest of the world category. But that cutoff date, as the graphic showed earlier, is in August of 2022. So there is still some retrogression, some backlog. But again, we have seen obviously this big jump, this forward movement, and we do anticipate that the cutoff date will continue to move forward. October 23 is obviously more recent than some others who shared their priority dates on this call. So it may be a little bit long for Kunlin to wait, but it won't be forever. And, again, it's important that you still continue with the process and continue getting your documents in order, the steps that Luciana shared before of the things we can do ahead of time to continue to move your case forward and make sure that when your priority date is current, you're ready to come to the United States.
Thank you so much. Great answer there. Mike Weiwei is asking, hi, how long it takes for I-140 to be approved? Mine is June 5th, 2023. Thank you. What do you have to say to Weiwei?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. There's a couple ways I-140s can be filed. There's something called premium processing that will get you an I-140 approved in 3 weeks. And then there's regular processing. And obviously, Weiwei's case must have been filed under regular processing. Regular processing right now is running in the 6-month mark. It varies by the service center to some degree, but I think 6 months is fairly normal. One of the things to keep in mind when we talk premium processing is that as long as dates are retrogressed, premium processing, in my opinion, provides you no advantage whatsoever. It does not provide you a faster priority date. Your priority date is going to be exactly the same. Weiwei's priority date is June 5th, 2023, whether that case was filed under regular processing or not. So as long as the retrogression line is longer than the processing time for the regular I-140, Weiwei is not impacted by how long her I-140 takes. Matter of fact, the Weiwei is moving in the priority date line. She's moving forward in the queue in the same way and at the same stage as anyone who filed under premium processing in June 5th, 2023. I realize that right now there are still some hospitals who are filing as premium processing, and that's their choice. It's a $2,500 choice for each case. But at least from my seat, there's no longer any advantage. If the priority dates became current again, which I do not see happening, but if in fact something like that happens in the future, well, then there's an advantage to premium processing. But as we sit here today with about an 18-month queue, I see zero advantage.
Donna is saying, I already have my NCLEX and had screening done by one of your staffs and also waiting for an interview from an employer. Congratulations. Thank you and happy holidays. Hopefully, and praying that the visa bulletin will move again soon. Watching from Saudi Arabia. Donna, congratulations. And we just know that you're going to end up with an amazing position here in the United States. Yumi is asking, is there any chance or do you have any idea when will the filing for an adjustment of status from Visa Bulletin will move from January 2023 to current? Thanks, and watching from Alabama. Maria, why don't you take this one here for Yumi in Alabama?
Sure, yeah. So the cutoff date right now, there's, again, 2 charts. Mike outlined this before, but there's 2 charts, right? There's what we call the final action chart, which is when your green card could actually be issued, whether you're inside or outside the U.S. And then what's called the dates of filing chart. So the USCIS right now has indicated they will use the dates of filing chart for filing an adjustment of status, which is sort of the domestic version of the green card process for nurses that are inside the United States already, maybe on a student visa or a TN or something like that. We would go through adjustment of status. So if your priority date is February 1st of 2023 or before, and you are inside the United States, we can file your green card case, but they still have to wait until your date is current on the final action chart to actually issue the green card itself. So I think what Yumi is asking is, when will the date on the chart move from where it is now on the final action chart, to make it current again so that her green card could be issued? Again, unfortunately, we don't know the exact timeline. This is something the Department of State evaluates on a month-by-month basis as they issue the visa bulletin. And, they look at how many green cards are issued through adjustments of status, as well as how many green cards are issued at embassies, and then decide where to move the cutoff date. But we do anticipate that into 2024, the date will continue to progress forward. I agree with Mike, what he just said. I don't think it will go back to current ever again, or at least not in the near future, but we do anticipate that it will continue to move forward. So hopefully if her priority date is January of 23, she's already filed her I-485 adjustment of status, and then she's just waiting for the green card to be issued as her date becomes current.
Thank you so much, Maria. In the meantime, enjoy Sweet Home Alabama. Jay is saying, hi, happy holidays. I'm from Alabama, by the way. That's where I grew up. Brazilian parents came as immigrants, as healthcare workers, had me in Alabama, and it's a wonderful place to live. So I am the product. What can happen to you whenever you have kids and you decide to raise them in a wonderful place like Alabama? And we do have positions there. ABCD is saying IND nurse. Marcia is asking, would you recommend someone moving to the UK while we wait to be current? Mike?
Yeah, I think this is a complicated question on a lot of different levels. So I think you got to think of from several perspectives. First of all, what kind of contract are you going to have to sign to take your position in the UK? Is it going to be a 2-year commitment, a 3-year commitment? If it's going to be a 3-year commitment, then you're likely going to become current before those 3 years are up. And then you've got to talk to your case manager and your US sponsor to ensure that they're going to hold your position for you, because they're going to be waiting for you longer than what they originally anticipated. If, however, this is a move to the UK where you're flexible and can move to the US at any time, then that part becomes irrelevant. The second part of this would be, where are you going to have your interview? As Chris always likes to say, changing your consulate after the fact can be done, but it's almost never advised because it very rarely goes well. So if you are saying, well, my original consulate was going to be Manila, now I'm going to go to the UK, can I move to London, have my consulate there? Again, I think Maria mentioned earlier in the call that you have to establish some sort of residency in London, but a long period of time, a long-term work visa will often work. That's a different question. And again, you're going to have to talk to your case manager and see, does that make sense? For a lot of people, we try to encourage them to simply go back to the consulate where they originally placed. So I would start by reaching out to your case manager and talk to them about what your plans are in the UK, what the flexibility is, and then kind of go from there. But aside from those practical concerns, there are no legal concerns. It's not legally problematic that you work someplace else while you're waiting for your priority date to become current.
And I think something else for Marcia to be thinking about too is the long-term plan. What's your long-term plan? Because in the UK, you may not make as much money as you would here in the United States. Also, the United States, we can offer a path to citizenship much sooner. Is that correct, Mike?
Sooner than what you could get in the UK? I have no idea, sorry.
How long does it typically, so EB3, green card,
in the US, in the US, if you immigrate through employment base, you're eligible to become a citizen at the 5-year mark. So at the 5, you can actually start applying before the 5 years, but you're eligible after 5 years.
And that's great news. What wonderful news right there. Mark 45, hi, watching from the UK, the UK right there. Hope you're all well. Luciana, brilliant hosting skills, no dull moments with Okay, thank you. Joy, is premium processing for I-140 guarantees a nurse to get to the queue quickly, Maria?
I think Mike sort of covered this before, but yeah.
Going.
No, I think, the short answer is not really, not in this level of retrogression. So the average processing time under regular processing is, I think Mike was correct, somewhere like 6 to 9 months-ish. It kind of goes back and forth, but so let's say 6 months, right? And the retrogression is obviously deeper than that. Your priority date is still going to be the date that the I-140 was filed, whether it's under premium processing or not. So really the only thing that filing under premium processing establishes or, has an advantage of is just getting you an approval more quickly and kind of having that peace of mind. But it's still going to have the same priority date, whether it's approved in 2 weeks or 6 months or longer. And you're still going to be delayed by the retrogression to get your embassy interview. One other just key thing to mention is that if there was some progression in the priority dates, I agree with Mike. Again, it's not going to be current again, at least not in the foreseeable future. But if the priority dates did move more quickly and maybe you were able to recapture an old priority date, so you're not current now, but you are in, let's say, March of 2023, if you have an older priority date, we can always upgrade your I-140 to premium processing later in the process. So again, I agree with Mike. That's something we're advising employers of. It probably makes better sense to not pay the $2,500 per case to file premium from the start of the case. But then if we did see progression in the priority dates that warranted an expedite, we could always pay the $2,500 later and have the case be premium processed from that point forward. So it's an option to change it later. We're not locked into filing regular or premium processing from the start. But in this environment, I don't think there's an advantage to filing premium processing because, again, once your I-140 is approved, your priority date is the date that the I-140 was submitted, whether it was under premium processing or regular processing. And that's how you get through the queue into the interview.
Thank you, Maria. We have another shout out compliment from Mark45. Mike and Maria, you're both fab. Your ability to break down info to your viewers. Thank you and well done. Right on the spot, Mark. We have a few minutes left, so let's take a couple more questions here. So Nashawa is asking, what about the UAE embassy? I understand that it's the holidays nowadays, but I saw that there's so much delay and people with PD after me left already while I'm still waiting. My PD is January 2022. Mike, what do you think?
Well, if your priority date is January 2022, unless my math is off, you have only been current as of January. So you weren't eligible for an interview. People already leaving who have priority dates after you, I wouldn't have any idea what they're doing to leave. Maybe they have a different visa type. But your priority date is just now current. So I don't know that you've had a delay. If we're missing some information, then and you think there's been a delay, by all means, reach out to your case manager and they can reach out to your attorney and talk to you. But to me, it does not look like there's been a delay. Maria, am I misreading something?
No, I agree. Yeah, the only thing I could think was maybe if people left at the beginning of last year before the retrogression, but even then, I mean, that would have been a year ago now. So yeah, since May, this individual's priority date has not been current. So there's no way, like you say, Mike, that he would have an option to leave. Yeah. At least not on an EB3, to your point.
But when Nashawa did, she got in the queue. At the right time. So that's the thing. You've got to get in the queue. amnhealthcare.com/international. Go there, apply. We're happy to help you through the process. And of course, there are things you can do in the meantime, like we covered earlier in the show. You can also go to the Kinetics USA website. We have EB3 guidebooks there. We have a lot of information about retrogression, and we're here to answer all your questions. We do this immigration Q&A once a month. Always within a few days after the visa bulletin, right, Mike? We try to keep it on point with that so that we can always be here and give you the latest. Joyce is saying, I thank God am now current PD June 2022. Yay, go Joyce. We'll be able to get you processed. ABC, how many years it would take for a registered nurse to reach the USA if I passed right now? I think that's a little vague there. Mike, do you have anything to say to ABCD?
Well, I would say, past, I'm assuming means past NCLEX. I don't know what the typical time frame is to get someone interviewed and placed, but let's just make that up and pretend that is 3 months, okay? So 3 months, all of the individuals, all the hospitals that AMN and Kinetics places with already have PWDs and postings done, which means that filings can be done fairly quickly. So let's add another month there. So we're now at the 4-month mark under my hypothetical, and your case is filed. So your priority date has been established, and I'm going to add 18 months to that is my time frame I'm still sticking with. So I'm going to say under 2 years if you passed right now, with a lot of moving parts there, but that's my crystal ball guess.
Well, Ahmad is asking, hey, if I get married during my file is at the NVC stage, my priority date is not current. Can I add my partner to the process? Thank you. Maria, what would you say to Ahmad?
Yeah. So I think, again, Mike covered something similar to this earlier, but yes, you can absolutely add a spouse to your case really at any point in the process before you enter the United States. I think the most important thing to know is that you should get married if you're intending to bring a longtime partner or fiance with you to the United States. You should get married before you enter the U.S. That's the key thing to know. It's much, much easier to bring them with you if the marriage occurs before you enter the United States versus after. But we can add children or spouses to a case really at any point. And then, as Mike had said earlier, the sort of how that works, the mechanics of it are a little bit different depending on where you are in the process, whether your I-140 has just been filed, it's approved, you're at the NBC, at the embassy, all those factors make a difference. But the key thing to know is, yes, we can add a spouse or a child before you enter the U.S. to your case so that they can accompany you and come to the U.S. to live with you here.
Pengalan is saying, hello, not sure what's happening. My priority date is August 2023, and I have not received my fee bill. Is it normal to wait this long for a fee bill? Mike, what would you say to Pengalan?
Well, if your priority date is August 2023, the timing of the fee bill is determined once your I-140 is approved. So we don't know when your I-140 was approved, but your case overall is only about 3 months old. So I would say likely you were approved maybe in September or something. And I would certainly not think this is unusual for a fee bill to take this long. But depending on when you were approved, you might want to reach out to your case manager and see. I'm not aware of any issues currently happening. We had some issues earlier this year with the Texas Service Center not sending cases to the NVC very quickly. But as far as I know, that's all been resolved, and I'm not aware of any current backlogs of sending. So I think you're probably right in line with time.
Yeah, Pengalan just commented again and said, I-140 is approved. So to answer your question there, Mike. Okay, well, I cannot believe it. We're already almost at the hour. So glad that Mike and Maria were here to join us today, and that all of you around the world were here too to join us to hear the good news about the Visa Bulletin. It's our holiday gift. We're getting closer and closer to reaching your dream here in the United States. Happy holidays, Mike and Maria. We really appreciate to have you here, and you will be back in January to give us information on that Visa Bulletin. So we'll see you both back here soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year. And to all of our viewers out there, let's take a look at our future shows. As you can see, we have the immigration Q&A coming up January the 19th. But before that, we have our LaFora Talk Show, Working with U.S. Physicians. What is that like? What is it like to work with a physician here in the U.S. whenever you're in a clinical setting? Great information there. On February the 2nd, new year, new look. We are taking on a different format for this show. It's going to be very exciting. We want you to join us. We want your opinions on it, your feedback. We're always trying to keep it fresh, keep it new. Take a look at that show. We'd really, really love for you to join us. And again, on February the 16th, that Visa Bulletin will be out, hopefully, and we will bring our lawyers back on again for the immigration Q&A. Thank you again so much for joining us. We do have some wonderful photos from our nurses that we're going to close the show with, saying also happy holidays, and we'll see you back here in January. Onwards and upwards, everyone. Take care.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.